Peace. And what's good, YouTube? It's Kareem Samdi back again with another video. So today I want to get into the importance of the lower three chakras and why I say to focus on these before you focus on the higher chakras. Because when you focus on the lower three chakras, the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus, you actually begin to gain further control over your spiritual energy, your kundalini energy. The kundalini energy lies within the root chakra at first, because our sexual energy, our spiritual energy has fallen from the higher chakras down into that. It's fallen from our higher soul, our higher self, down into the lower chakras, and it has gone down into the physical body. So here we are, living a denser existence because of the fall of man, and we're living in the lower three chakras because we're finding our place in the world. The ego is nothing more than a vehicle being used to try to understand the different parts of the Godhead, at least from a conscious mind perspective, because the ego is inferior. It's inferior to the higher self. So it has to separate things in order to gain some kind of an idea. And this is what separation does. It occurs that way. This is why it occurs the way that it occurs, because we have to look at things from a perspective in which they appear separate, but they're not actually truly separate. And the root chakra is so important because when we find our place in the world, we figure out that this world is about survival. It's all about survival at the end of the day. That's the main trait of the ego, right? When we figure out that that's what it's about, and we actually dig deep, we connect with the earth and we find our place, and we discover our purpose through that. This is essentially, it's all meant for alchemy at the end of the day. And neglecting the root chakra is one of the worst things you can do for your spiritual development, because the root chakra is very powerful. It's powerful being in that, because the sexual energy, the kundalini energy, lies in that chakra. When we gain a physical understanding of that energy, and we're able to raise it up, that's when we really begin to tap into our true power. See, when we focus on the higher chakras, this is why there's an agenda to keep you focused on your higher chakras, to keep you focused on the third eye. There's an agenda for that, because when you ignore the chakras that are being actively manipulated on a daily basis to keep you held down, when you don't focus on those, essentially your higher chakras become distorted. This is why you have a lot of people, they're talking a lot of conscious information, but it's not really getting past their ego. So this is what happens when you're conscious and you have a lot of information, but it's not really turning into what we call understanding. When you have a lot of information, the higher chakras become imbalanced, and they're all working to compensate the ego. So when the kundalini energy rises, the ego is rising along with it, and it's bringing your lower nature, and it's mixing it in, because the higher chakras, they're so imbalanced that they can't handle what's coming through. But if you find a balance within yourself, you find a way to ground yourself, through actually learning about the lower three chakras, then you begin to gain a better understanding, not just of yourself and what's going on with you, what's imbalanced those chakras in the first place, how those chakras have been manipulated, recognizing those, letting go of the negative entities that are possessing those chakras. But once you begin to really get an understanding, that's when you begin to really form a stronger power. Once we get to the solar plexus, we get courage. We get courage to face our problems. That fire that I was talking about in the solar plexus video, that fire within you is what's going to bring you through the gates of death, bring you through the gates that the ego cannot go through, and bring you into the higher nature of yourself. But you can only do that when you really focus and you understand who and what you are. You understand everything that you've gone through, and you learn to let go of the things that hold you back, the things that keep you down. I want to say that most of our issues, they've all fallen and taken their home in our lower three chakras. A lot of our issues centered around self-esteem, fear, and also, pretty much just learning how to connect with others, learning how to connect with ourselves. That's all root, sacral, and solar plexus issues, and those are huge issues that we're facing today. Anxiety, depression, all of it ties down to the lower three chakras. There's a reason why these things are so heavily pushed on you. it's heavily pushed on you that you have to venerate and give names to your issues, because the more you venerate and you give names to your issues, the more that you recognize them, the easier it is for your lower three chakras to align with that and create a subconscious reality that you continue to live out every day. One in which they have to overcompensate, or one in which that underpowers them. And when you're living that reality every day, your energy body gets very, very taxed. We want to really be able to understand that our energy body is important, our emotional body is important, and we need to understand all of it. We need to really be able to bring the skeletons out of the closet and take a deeper introspective look at ourselves, because that's what we're going to have to do. When it comes to the root, we have to ground ourselves in our understanding of this world before we can ground ourselves in our understanding of our mission first. The mission is the crown chakra, but the root chakra is about understanding where you're at right now. And where you're at right now is essentially, you have to recognize that you're in a hell of your own making. It's all a hell of your own making. And getting out of the lower three chakras involves acceptance of who we are, acceptance of why we are where we are, and why we are who we are. What made us into that, the things that affected us, why we're living the life that we're living. The root chakra, once we balance it, it's all about seeing the lesson in everything, really. Seeing the lesson in the bigger picture. You know, you can't see the bigger picture when the chakra is imbalanced, because you're so focused on trying to keep yourself up. When your root chakra is overactive, you're so focused on staying in your position of power, staying feeling in a survival instinct. You know, everything's all about you, but there's no connection being made. There's no connection being made with the self. There's no connection being made with others. We have to really understand that once we really begin to harmonize that, the masculine and the feminine energies within the root chakra, we really begin to open up different doors. And to do that involves letting go of fear. And it also involves, letting go of neglect of ourselves, because when we neglect the emotional body, our spiritual energy can't rise. We neglect the physical body, our spiritual energy is limited too. It's all concurrent. It all goes together at the end of the day. And when we move into the sacral chakra, we really have to understand just the different parts of ourselves that energy is able to express itself in. Like, we have to understand that the energy is about spiritual connection. So when we learn how to connect with others, connect with our creativity, we learn how to connect with what this power can do for us, and we allow it to do it, because sacra is all about allowing things. It's all about letting things come to you. It's all about letting everything flow like water. That's why it's represented by water. You have to let the spiritual energy flow without resistance, and you have to accept everything. This is all about acceptance of self, acceptance of who and what you are. The first question you should be asking on the spiritual journey is, who am I? And I know that when I started to really focus on these lower three chakras, that's when I really began to tap into different things, because when I was focused on the third eye, it helped. Don't get me wrong. When I was focused on the third eye, it really did help. But I was like, no, there's 6 other chakras for a reason. The chakras, they're actually all meant to work together. And, the lower 3 chakras, they are based in the ego. They are based in the lower nature, but you still need those to function on a higher level. And there's minor chakras in the body too. So these 7 are what are required for the spirit to ascend into enlightenment, to return home. And when we first start the lower 3, we have to really be able to understand the ego and see its relation to the entire self. And when we see its relation, we're able to finally understand it and let it go, let the problems go, let the parts go that aren't supposed to rise up into our higher nature, and only take that in which represents pure light. And that once we really begin to understand that, we make those connections. The solar plexus is all about turning that into power, turning your success, turning your dependability, turning turning your survival instinct, turning everything that you learned about this world and transforming it into a power for yourself. Taking that fear, that thing that you once feared, and transforming it into something greater for yourself. Something that used to run your life, now you're running it. Now you're using it as a tool for yourself, a tool for your consciousness and your conscious enlightenment. That's what the alchemy of the root chakra really is all about. And when we experience the sensuality, experience the sexual energy on a higher level, we also turn that into a power. This is all about raising that energy within us, because we operate on different levels. We just have to really understand what those levels are. We understand what those levels are when we discover how the emotional body works through the chakras. And when we discover that and we move into the higher chakras, we really understand that, at the end of the day, this world is something that the ego needed in order to try to understand what was going on. But at the end of the day, we had it all within us. And when we take that energy and we use it to really better ourselves, that's when we become what we used to be. We become the guys that we used to be. We become all-knowing like we used to be. And it's always been there. And your heart has always known that it's always been there, but we have to see it again. And that just comes with a lot of humility. The spiritual path is not for those who can't be honest with themselves. And I know that for a fact, because when I was less honest with myself, I was struggling in a lot of ways, And when I wasn't being honest with myself when it came to what I wanted to do in life, the root chakra suffered, because obviously when you don't know what you want to do in life, you have a lack of direction. Your survival is also threatened too. When I was repressing different parts of myself, through my life, repressing different parts of my creativity, I used to really not be able to express my creativity because of fear. That's a root and a sacral issue put together, and also solar plexus, because there's a confidence issue too, a confidence in being able to express myself. But when I had let that go, I was able to grow, especially when I became conscious of how that was going on with me, and also became conscious of where it came from. And this is all about understanding. It's all about psychology at the end of the day. Therapy without a therapist. Of course, you could use a therapist to really get perspective too, but when you learn about the chakras and you get an understanding, we actually begin to figure out what really was going on with us the entire time in the first place. Because I like to say, whenever anybody asks me for advice, I always like to say this, we all know the answers to everything. We do. We know the answers to all of our problems. We know the answers to where we're supposed to go in life, what we're supposed to do in life. We know the answers to all of it. Even how to get out of situations that seem impossible, we know the answers. We always know the answer. But we just may not like what the answer is. That's the thing, that's what blocks us. See, I never say that I don't know anything. I used to say that all the time, but I would never say I don't know. I will always talk about myself as if I am going to figure out. You want to put yourself in the now, but you never want to say I don't know, because I don't know will subconsciously create confusion for yourself. And that'll also lead to stagnant energy in the chakras. The energy won't be able to flow properly. So you want to always tell yourself, no, I do know what's going on. I do know whether my energy centers are working properly or not. I do know where to go in life. I do know, what to do. That it's all about that. You always know. And your heart always knows. What's in you always knows. The God within you always knows. It's always watching. And we have to be aware of that, and at this particular time we have to actually be able to activate that within ourselves. We activate that by honesty. We activate that by education. Taking that knowledge that we get, taking the information that's out there and grounding ourselves with it and letting our spirit bring the real answers to us. Because all these books, they can tell you so many things. I can only tell you so many things, but what your spirit is going to bring to you is going to be something that I can't tell you. What that books can't tell you. That no guru can tell you. You're the guru. Your higher self is the guru at the end of the day. And that's just why I think it's important to focus on lower three. You understand the first, you will understand the last. You understand the beginning, you'll understand the end. It tells you right there in the Bible. It tells you in so many different ways in the Bible that if you understand where everything originated from, you will always understand the answer. and they tell you in different ways in all the other scriptures as well. So that's what I wanted to say about the lower three chakras. Don't neglect them. If you neglect them, you're also neglecting the higher chakras. The higher chakras need them. They need them to function. They need them to raise your consciousness up. This is all about levels. There's different levels to you. So see it as a fun journey for yourself. See it as another way to really express yourself. This is your movie. This is your story that you're writing. This is your book. So how this turns out for you is up to you. And that's the video. So I hope it inspires y'all to really do the work. And I hope it motivated you guys to really continue taking care of yourselves. I wish you all luck in your journey, and peace.